right, we are looking outside my window. It's so cute. Let me get my laptop so that I can get my notes because I don't want to just blabber, okay? Your time is valuable, and I know that you're here for a reason to get some good information. And the last thing I want to do is blabber. Sounds like my washer and dryer, or my dryer is like super loud. I'm sorry if you hear that. Let's get into it. So I just finished a series in the last 4 videos, and we are going to take on to another one. So I think I've never actually introduced to you guys what wake up means and where that concept came from. So let me start there first, actually. It's a really good story. So I used to live in an RV back in 2021, I think 2020. I'm not sure. Either way. So we used to live in an RV, and I was like spiritually broken. I was spiritually like lost, right? That's what I would say. Spiritually lost. And I think there was a point where it was a thought of surrendering, because like I really wanted to get to know Jesus. Like, who is he? Like, how do you have a relationship with him? Why do people talk about him so highly? Like, who is this person, you know? And for a minute, I genuinely did not know how to get there. I didn't even know. It just felt so far-fetched that it was something that I truly had no idea how to experience. But over time, as I started to go into church and read and hear sermons, and then I started to also like read the word and do my best to read the word, because don't get me wrong, it was super hard at first. It was something that I just genuinely didn't know how to get into. I thought I was just so stupid to even like learn how to read the Bible, right? And as I started to understand more and be like, okay, like it's okay if I don't know yet, but I know that something is gonna come about, right? And so while I was going through that journey, I was also planning or like wanting to design my life, right? Because I knew that I started hearing about how you can create your own world and how you can start to live the life that you truly desire. And so like I was learning to do these things, and I've had an idea to just write a book. And so then Holy Spirit guided me through that to know like, hey, like this is the way. And as I was doing research and I was finding things, and some people say like the first thing you can do is like build a acronym so that it gives people a way of how to overcome something that you went through, right? And so wake up for me, at first it was a few words were different. Wake up today means wisdom, action, knowledge, empowerment, unity, and peace, right? And I think when I first started this acronym, it was worship. And I feel like worship is important. However, wisdom comes with worship. So I just end up switching it up. Anyway, so yeah, so Holy Spirit was guiding me through that. And I was just like, okay, like mind you, this is 2021 when this happened. So like I truly didn't actually start, I didn't even write the book until this year. Yeah, this year, which is 2026. So the idea had been there. I just didn't know how to like bring it to life. And so as I started to also go through the journey of reading more of God and learning more, I realized that the one thing I did struggle with, and this is why my whole goal is to help people, is because I did struggle to learn to have a relationship with Jesus. I didn't know how that felt, especially coming from, like you guys know, my background of being judged for even attempting to do something like this. And even now, sometimes I still don't talk about Jesus with my family, only because I don't know, like I just get looked upon, right? But like God forbid, like one thing I've learned, one thing that I remember, one time my parents or my dad caught me like with my husband, right? In At that time we were like dating in the bedroom, but like we were not doing anything, thankfully. And it was just the fact that like he caught me like laying under the sheets, right? And I was like not ashamed of that. And I was like, why? But like oddly enough, when I would try to read the Bible or even attempt to read any book, I'd feel ashamed of that. Can you like, where's the, I don't know. Anyways, that was just something that I've like recently was like, what in the world? Like, why would I be ashamed of reading the Bible or reading a book, but not be ashamed of being caught like laying with my boyfriend? Like, that didn't make no sense to me. Anyways, but that just shows you like the normality of what he was okay, but then it's like I God forbid read a book, and it's like, oh, look at you trying to read a book. Like, aren't you stupid? You can't even read a book, or something similar along those lines. Or look at you trying to read the Bible. Like, what do you think you are? You're holy or whatever. And so I think that just concept is so stupid. Anyways, so yeah, so as I started to pray and ask God, like, lead me to these things, be with me while I do these things. And like I said, it was just something that just kept coming to mind, especially I think last year when I finally, like, I was writing the book last year, and this year I finally published it. But yeah, so last year when I was like finally getting my things to come together, I was doing the research, I was putting it all together, and truly understanding what it is to wake up, truly understanding what it is to provide wisdom and embody the action of wisdom, and then know that something is going to come to life, and giving yourself the empowerment to go through that field. And then you have that connection with people because you need unity in order for all of these things to work. And you just praise, or you have peace because it worked, and it's like, but it's all because you're building a relationship with God. Like, through that whole process, it have to come to a point where you will have a relationship with God. And so now that we got there, this whole new series is about empowerment, and it's on the word E, obviously, and it's going to be about accepting and having authority in what God already called you to do, or who He called you to be, right? And this will help us to learn the obedience part of walking with God, because, like I said, the book itself, the idea came in 2021 or 2021, one of those. And then the actual liveness of the product or the idea came in 2026. And so, with that being said, if you guys don't know though, I do have the link in the description where you guys can get the book. And I also have a free devotional if you guys want to get into that. So with that being said, we are going to move into today's idea, which is God didn't heal you to keep you quiet. When I was doing this research and I was thinking about what I wanted to say and what I want you guys to understand or get at the end of this message, I really think that I leave you with the peace to know that it's not going to be as simple as we thought it to be, right? Or it's not going to just be any better than what we thought it to be. And that's just a misconception that the world brings, because they think they want you to chase the shiny objects of them, right? And that's not Jesus. Jesus isn't here to dangle a carrot in your face to tell you to come chase it, right? He's here to walk with you through the journey as you are going through something. Of course, there's always a good outcome. And sometimes I think that we believe the outcome always has to be what we want it to be, or it has to be some grand gesture, right? But it's not. It's just simply that continuous relationship with Jesus. And that's really the true glory. That's really the true gift, is to have a relationship with Him. And so when we learn to heal, and we learn that healing doesn't have to make us to be quiet per se, it's more so to know that we can become available again, right? We can become available and accessible to Jesus. It's not about people who might have done something to you or hurt you, or even a job you might have like felt attached to. It's more so that connection with Jesus to know, hey, maybe this job wasn't for me, but guess what? I trust you, Lord. Maybe this relationship wasn't for me. I trust you, Lord. Maybe this thing wasn't for me. I trust you, Lord, right? And even if it is, and even if you are praying towards that, because I don't like to discredit the fact that you can pray for it and it can happen, because it does say, actually the verse of the day was something along the lines of, like, if you say it is so and you believe it, it will be so, right? And that's a real like thing. Now, how you get there, that's definitely not on your control, but I do believe it's a thing. It's a thing that can be happen. It can happen for you. So I never want to discredit that. I never want somebody to feel like they have to change their whole mind about something. No, if you made your mind up and you want this career, you want this person, you want this material thing, whatever it is, it can be yours. It's already yours. Like I said, you just have to believe that it's yours, and it'll be yours, right? Now, how you get there, the process through that, that's where you don't want to try to control, because it's out of your control. He never asks you to figure out how. He just tells you to believe, right? Oftentimes when we're going through this journey, I find that fear tells us to stay hidden, right? To, okay, maybe if I don't show up, maybe if I just remove myself from this thing, then I won't have to fear it not happening. Because sometimes that can be a fear. Like, you might not want to show up because you simply just don't want to be disappointed anymore, right? Fear may tell you to just stay small. Don't, like, just literally, stay quiet, stay put. Fear is basically trying to tell you, like, don't believe, don't speak about it, don't take the risk to get the thing that you want. Don't let people see you fail, basically, right? Because fear is going to tell you that. Fear is going to tell you, oh, look at you, it's not going to happen. And it just would never happen. It feels so far-fetched. But remember, building a relationship with Jesus felt far-fetched to me at first, and now here we are. Eventually, as you begin to heal, you start to restore your voice though. So while you're going through those moments and you start to reflect, and I believe that if you haven't don't journal or you haven't started journaling, that is something that's really has helped me to reflect better. So I just don't speak before I say something I don't agree with or I just might regret. I've learned that if you just learn to reflect on your thoughts, your ideas, and you bring them to Jesus, you walk with them through Him. It's not to say, here, God, you figure it out. It's really to say, together, how do we make this work? And of course, as we've learned that His voice isn't this loud voice is going to tell you don't do something and it will be, it's just that's just when He got to a point of trying to tell you stop doing something through a nudge. It's this nudge, this constant like push to go do something. And obviously it's something that's good. And so when you do that, when you start to obey and you start to reflect on it, and He walks you on to the next step, into the next step, into the next step of that, you begin to restore your voice. You begin to understand that, oh, here's how this is going to play out, right? And you start to embody it. You start to practice it. You start to acknowledge the true authority that you have. And now you start to regain your voice. You start to gain control over what your life and your outcomes are, right? You learn that through this process, you're not just doing this so people notice you. Because at the end of the day, as you may have come to understand, is that the opinions of others or how people see you or view you does not really have anything to do with you. Your assignment with Jesus is your assignment. And nobody can save you from that assignment and nobody can help you in that assignment because they have their own assignment too. It's not so that people can notice you, but it's so that you learn that you're no longer afraid to obey. You learn that you've built boundaries around this thing that you're building, this thing that you're putting together with Jesus, right? And so your voice doesn't stay small. You don't no longer have to shrink to fit in. You walk in authenticity of who you are. Yet, through that process, you've gained the courage and the mobility to go through that process because Jesus helped you walk through it. And so that's where it helps us that to know that just because there might be a season where you are quiet, because you don't have to go and tell everybody what you're going through, what you're doing, and what you are going to accomplish, right? Because in the end, we're only doing our assignment for Jesus, and we only can really understand our vision and what we see. It comes with more when you do tell people your sufferings and your what you've gone through. And it's not to say, because I think there's a lot of contradiction, but when you've overcome it, that's when you can speak upon it because now it's part of your testimony. But when you're learning or you're still going through that process, it's going to be a time when you have to learn to just be quiet, stay still. Hey, my love. Okay, we're about to go right now. Go put shoes on, go potty. When you learn that you no longer have to be afraid to obey, a powerful point arises, right? You learn that the opposite of trauma isn't confidence because, like I said, when you're telling people your traumas, it doesn't mean that you just have to boldly be there and be like, yeah, but I'm gonna overcome this. Like, that's too performative. I believe when you are going through the traumas, it's okay to surrender. It's okay to be like, I don't know how this is going to work out. I'm not sure. Even if you do know, because even now in my own life, there's certain things that I've seen in visions and dreams and I've heard. When things have come to pass, I'm like, wow, I saw it already before it even happened. And people consider it deja vu. I didn't know what it was up until now, where I realized these are just revelations of what's going to happen. Now, of course, if something does show up that's negative, and you have to learn to do this research yourself. But if something does show up that's negative, my first suggestion is don't replay that so much. And then, well, my first suggestion would be to take it to Jesus and He'll let you know. But secondly, is don't replay that too much, especially if it's something you don't want. But it's also making sure that how does it connect to you? What does it make you feel? And why did it come about? Like one thing that's going to happen and why did it, like you have to learn to do that research yourself, right? And then soon you'll start to realize why these things happen. But we understand that the opposite of trauma isn't confidence, but instead it's freedom because you're free from the thing that is no longer tied to you. You're not bound to that anymore. You're not bound to that representation or that idea that I used to once give you. You're not bound to that suffering. You're not bound to it because you've learned that your personality is not defined by those things. Your identity is in Christ. And who he says you are is more important than what you believe or what others say you are. And that's why it's so important. And I always try to tell you guys, you need to read the Bible. In order for you to know who you are and whose you are, you need to read the word. Because the word is God. And so when you know the word and you have learned to shape yourself around the word, you can begin to embody something that gives you permission to speak. You walk in authority of who you are. You no longer have to shrink yourself to fit in places because you know that at the end of the day, you are who God says you are and not what other people might view you, might critique, might say, or might believe that you are. And that's why when I say it's like you, when you're going through suffering, when you're going through these things, yeah, and I made this mistake myself, but like telling people about it, it doesn't help resolve anything and it doesn't help them or you. Because when God speaks and God tells us to do certain things, it may become very humbling. And how that humbling experience feels is unfortunately upon how much you've said. And so, from my experience, like I've said, even my whole traumatic experience in my relationship after being betrayed and stuff, there's times where when I'm talking to somebody and I just remember that I did say something about this, or I might have even said something negative, something I don't agree with today, I'm still tied to that past. And so you want to save your future self from being in contact with that past trauma by simply just praying about it. It's not saying you have to hold it in and never speak about it. It's praying it with Jesus. Even if you are married, your spouse shouldn't even know the things that you're reflecting with Jesus. Could they know a little bit? Of course. But do they have to know the whole thing? No. Because that's between you and Jesus. Your assignment with Jesus is different than your spouse's assignment with Jesus. As we empower this message and we make it to where you understand that you can let go of the idea of what people have said or people have done to you by simply learning to heal with Jesus and learning that God is with you through it all and he will never leave you nor forsake you. So with that being said, welcome to a new series. Thank you guys for watching. If you are new here, hello. Don't forget to subscribe. And I will leave you guys with that. I will see you guys in the next video.